Luv on Wheels. The neon lights of Southside Skating Palace painted rainbow halos across the polished wood floor. Dallas summers were always hot, but inside the rink, the cool air and pulsing beats made everyone forget about the heat outside. Luvette Love Washington first noticed Will Taylor on a crowded Friday night. He was in the center of the dance floor, moving with the kind of confidence that made everyone stop and watch. His friends formed a circle around him as he hit moves that seemed to defy gravity. Love tried to look away but couldn't, not when his every movement felt like poetry in motion. That first night, their eyes met for just a moment across the crowded rink. Love quickly looked away, pretending to adjust her skates, her heart racing faster than her wheels ever could. The second time, a week later, she was gliding past the dance floor when he caught her eye again. This time, she managed a small wave before disappearing into the crowd, her cheeks burning. The third time, Will was leaning against the rail near the DJ booth, nodding his head to the beat. When Love skated by, he gave her a head nod that made her stumble slightly. His friends noticed, nudging each other and grinning. But it was the fourth time that changed everything. The DJ's voice crackled over the speakers. "This one's for all the lovers out there." As the smooth R&B melody filled the rink, Will spotted Love across the floor. She moved like she was floating, her braids catching the light as she glided in perfect rhythm. Will's world seemed to slow down, the crowd fading away until all he could see was her. In his mind, he was already out there, matching her movement for movement. They were dancing on wheels, creating their own gravity, their own universe. His friends' voices broke through his daydream. "Man, stop standing there looking like a lovesick puppy," Marcus teased. "Go skate with her." "Yeah, show her some of those smooth moves," Jerome added, pushing Will toward the rental counter. What his friends didn't know, what nobody knew, was that Will Taylor, the breakdancing king of Southside Skating Palace, had never actually learned to skate. His domain was the dance floor, where his feet could stay firmly planted on solid ground. But something about Love made him want to try. The rental skates felt foreign on his feet as he gripped the rail, his knuckles white. When Luv spotted him struggling, she didn't laugh. Instead, she skated over with a gentle smile that made his embarrassment fade away. "Need some help?" she asked, extending her hand. Will looked at her hand, then at her face, seeing nothing but kindness in her eyes. "I might need a lot of help," he admitted with a sheepish grin. "That's okay," she said, her smile widening. "We've got time." And they did. Weeks turned into months, and months into years. Every Friday night, between the neon lights and pulsing beats of Southside Skating Palace, their story continued to unfold. A story of first love, growing up, and learning that sometimes the best moves in life aren't the ones you plan. In Dallas's sweltering heat, they created their own kind of cool, their own kind of rhythm. Will eventually learn to skate, and Love learned to breakdance. They taught each other, challenged each other, and grew together, their love story playing out on 8 wheels and endless possibilities. The regulars at Southside started calling them Love on Wheels, and the name stuck, not just because of Luvette's nickname, but because of how their love seemed to flow as smoothly as wheels on polished wood, even when the path ahead wasn't always straight or smooth. Their story became legendary at the rink. The breakdancer who couldn't skate, and the girl who taught him how to roll with life's moments, both the smooth and the stumbling ones. It wasn't just about skating anymore. It was about growing up, falling in love, and finding your balance, on and off the rink. Will's crew, Marcus, Jerome, and Twin, nobody knew why they called him Twin since he was an only child, were notorious for their dance battles and constant joking. They'd grown up together in South Dallas, practicing their moves in Marcus's garage before discovering Southside Skating Palace. "Man, you look like a baby giraffe out there," Twin would tease Will during his skating lessons with Love. "All legs, no coordination." "At least I got a teacher worth falling for," Will would shoot back, making Love blush and the crew howl with laughter. Love's best friend Maya was always there too, rolling her eyes at the boys' antics while secretly rooting for Will and Love. "Girl, you got patience," she'd tell Love. Teaching that boy to skate is like teaching my little brother algebra. Painful to watch, but somehow making progress. The rink became their sanctuary, especially during the tough times. When Will's mama got sick, Luv would find him at the dance floor late at night, breaking until his muscles ached. She'd sit with him until closing, sometimes talking, sometimes just being there. When Luv's daddy lost his job at the auto plant, Will's crew showed up at her house with groceries and bad jokes, making her family laugh for the first time in weeks. Their families became intertwined too. Mama Taylor, despite her illness, always had extra plates ready on Sunday for Love and whoever else showed up. Mr. Washington, once he recovered from the shock of his baby girl dating that breakdancing boy, became Will's biggest supporter, teaching him to change oil and fix cars in the garage. The skating scenes between them became legendary. There was the Christmas skate when Will finally managed to skate backward, only to crash into the Christmas tree, which he somehow turned into a smooth spin that had everyone cheering. Or the Valentine's Day when he attempted to recreate their first skate together, this time with actual skill, ending with him on one knee, presenting Love with a charm bracelet, and only falling twice in the process. But it was the summer dance battle that really cemented their legend. The annual Southside Showdown was coming up, and for the first time, they entered as a pair. Will brought his breakdancing, Love brought her skating, and together, they created something entirely new. Their routine mixed smooth glides with power moves, skating with breaking, all set to a mix that Twins' cousin DJ'd specially for them. "Y'all see this?" Marcus would tell anyone who'd listen during their practice sessions. "They invented a whole new style. That's what Love do. Make you create something that wasn't even there before." They had their struggles too, like when Will's pride got the better of him and he tried to learn a complex skating move without Love, ending up with a sprained ankle and a bruised ego. Or when Love's ex from her old neighborhood started showing up at the rink, trying to cause trouble. But they faced it all together, their bond growing stronger with each challenge. Maya summed it up best one night, watching Will teach Love some basic breaking, while she helped him perfect his crossovers. "Y'all really something else, you know that? Like watching a poetry book and a comic book fall in love. Shouldn't work, but somehow it's perfect." The regulars started calling their style smooth rough, a mix of Love's graceful skating and Will's raw breaking energy. Young couples at the rink would point to them and whisper, "I want what they got." Even Mr. Mason, the old head who ran the skate rental counter and had seen everything in his 30 years at Southside, would smile when they came in. "Some people come here to escape," he'd say, watching them practice. "But those two, they came here to find something. And look at that, they found it." The dance battles at Southside became the stuff of urban legend. There was the infamous Trinity River Throwdown, when a crew from Fort Worth came through talking big. Twin kicked it off with his signature move, the Dallas Tornado, a complicated series of spins that had even the Fort Worth crew nodding in respect. But it was Will who shut it down, combining breaking with his newly learned skating skills in a way that had people recording on their phones for weeks after. "That ain't even fair," one of the Fort Worth dancers complained. "How you gonna break and skate?" "Welcome to Dallas, baby," Marcus shot back, while Jerome added, "That's that Southside special." The friends each had their own journey too. Marcus, always the smooth talker, finally met his match in Maya's cousin Keisha, who checked his ego with sharp wit and sharper skating skills. Jerome, the quiet one of the crew, surprised everyone by opening a small skate shop next to the rink, turning his passion for customizing skates into a successful business. Twin's story took an unexpected turn when he discovered his talent for DJing. Starting with simple mixes for Will and Love's practice sessions, he eventually became Southside's resident DJ, known for blending old school soul with modern beats. His Saturday night sets became as legendary as the dance battles themselves. Maya, meanwhile, balanced college classes with teaching skating to kids at the rink. She started a program called Rolling Dreams, giving free lessons to youngsters who couldn't afford them. Love would often help out, remembering how skating had changed her own life. The family's stories deepened too. Mama Taylor's battle with lupus brought the whole community together. The rink hosted a fundraiser skate night that turned into a monthly tradition of community support for families in need. Through her illness, she never lost her spark, still cooking Sunday dinner for an ever-growing extended family and offering wisdom between bites of her famous sweet potato pie. "Baby," she'd tell Love while they cleaned up after dinner. "Some people think love is all about the big moments, but it's really in them small things, like how my Will started carrying peppermints 'cause he noticed you liked them, or how you learned all his mama's recipes just to surprise him when I was too sick to cook." Mr. Washington's story took an unexpected turn when Jerome helped him turn his garage into a proper auto shop. What started as a way to bounce back from losing his plant job became Washington & Sons Custom Auto, even though he had all daughters. Will became like the son he never had, learning the business between dance practices and eventually managing the shop's books. "Never thought I'd trust my business to a breakdancer," Mr. Washington would joke. "But then again, never thought I'd trust my daughter to one either. Life's funny that way." The rink itself seemed to hold endless stories. There was the time the air conditioning broke during the hottest day of the year, and instead of closing, everyone brought fans and kept skating, turning it into an impromptu summer heat wave party. Or the night the power went out, and Twin hooked up a generator just to keep the music playing while everyone skated by phone light. Mr. Mason, who'd seen the rink through 3 decades of changes, had his own story. A former professional skater who toured with Earth, Wind & Fire in the 70s, he'd chosen to come back home to Dallas to keep the skating culture alive. He became a mentor to all of them, teaching Will advanced breaking moves and helping Love perfect her backwards skating. "Y'all remind me of how it used to be," he'd say, watching them practice their routines. Back when skating wasn't just about moving around, it was about making art, making community. "That's what y'all doing here, making something beautiful." As their high school years rolled into young adulthood, the South Side Skating Palace remained their anchor. Through college applications, job interviews, heartbreaks, and triumphs, they always came back to the smooth wood floor and neon lights. The Luv On Wheels story became more than just about Will and Love. It became about all of them, a family forged on 8 wheels. The summer after graduation changed everything. Will got accepted to Howard University for business, while Love received a dance scholarship to SMU. The distance between Dallas and DC loomed like a shadow over their final summer nights at the rink. "Y'all act like they ain't got phones in DC," Twin joked, but everyone could feel the weight of the coming changes. Their last skate night before Will's departure became an unofficial reunion. Skaters from all over DFW showed up, and Mr. Mason kept the rink open well past midnight. The energy was electric, a celebration tinged with the bittersweet knowledge that things would never be quite the same. Will and Love's final dance that night became instant Southside legend. They moved like they were trying to freeze time itself, their bodies telling the story of their journey, from Will's first stumbling attempts on skates to their perfectly synchronized movements now. When the music ended, there wasn't a dry eye in the house. "Distance ain't nothing but a number," Will whispered to Love as they sat on the steps outside afterward, watching the sunrise. "We made it work when I couldn't even stand up on skates. We got this." College brought its own rhythm. Will threw himself into his studies, joining Howard's business club while teaching breakdancing on the side. Love's contemporary dance training at SMU began incorporating elements of her skating style, creating a fusion that caught the attention of visiting choreographers. They made it work through video calls, care packages. Mama Taylor's sweet potato pie somehow always arrived still fresh, and weekend visits whenever possible. The crew kept them connected. Twin would send Will recordings of his latest mixes, Jerome kept Love's skates in perfect condition, and Maya and Marcus made sure neither of them missed any important hometown news. But it was during Will's sophomore year that their story took its most dramatic turn. After Mama Taylor's lupus took a turn for the worse, Will struggled with the decision to transfer back home. Love, watching him tear himself apart over the choice, made a decision of her own. One rainy Tuesday, Will walked out of his business ethics class to find Love waiting outside his classroom, soaked from the DC rain, but grinning ear to ear. "I transferred to Howard," she announced, before he could even speak. "SMU's great, but they got dance programs in DC too. Plus," she added with a smile, "somebody's gotta make sure you don't forget how to skate." The crew flew up for their first DC skate night together. They'd found a rink in Maryland that reminded them of home, though as Twin pointed out, "Man, They just don't know how to mix music like we do in Dallas. By their senior year, Will and Love had become known figures in DC's skating scene. They'd started teaching couples skating classes, blending their unique Dallas style with East Coast moves. Their videos started going viral, the breakdancing skater and his graceful partner bringing their South Side style to the capital. Meanwhile, back in Dallas, things were evolving too. Jerome's skate shop had expanded to include a small skating academy, with Maya's Rolling Dreams program now officially part of the business. Twin had producers from major labels asking about his mixes, and Marcus was working on opening a second location of Washington & Sons Custom Auto with Mr. Washington. When graduation approached, Will surprised everyone by proposing to Love at the Howard University bell tower. But the real surprise came during their engagement party back home at Southside Skating Palace. "We're moving back to Dallas," they announced to their cheering friends and family. "We're buying the rink." Mr. Mason, now ready to retire, had offered them first chance to take over Southside. Will's business degree and Love's dance background made them the perfect pair to carry the rink's legacy forward. "Some folks might say a skating rink ain't much," Mr. Mason said at their wedding reception. "Held where else but on the smooth wood floors of Southside. But this place is magic. And these two, they're keeping that magic rolling." Years later, when people asked about the story of Luv On Wheels, they'd hear different versions. Some focused on the romance, others on the dancing, many on the comedy of Will's early skating attempts. But everyone agreed on one thing. It was a story that could only have happened at Southside Skating Palace, where love rolled on 8 wheels and moved to its own beat. It was a story about finding your family, your passion, and yourself, all while moving to a rhythm that was uniquely Dallas, uniquely Southside, uniquely them. And now, watching a new generation of skaters find their footing on that same wooden floor, Will and Luv knew their story was just one part of a bigger legacy, one that would keep rolling, keep growing, keep moving forward, 8 wheels at a time. Their wedding was pure Southside style. The ceremony took place right on the rink floor, with Twin DJing a mix that tracked their whole journey, from Up To You that started it all, through songs that marked their milestones, to new beats that represented their future. The wedding party rolled in on skates, with Maya leading the bridesmaids in a choreographed entrance that had the crowd cheering. Mr. Washington walked Love down the aisle, or rather, rolled with her, having finally learned to skate just for this moment. "Never thought I'd give my baby away on wheels," he joked, his voice thick with emotion. Mama Taylor, watching from her front row seat, beamed with pride as Will, in a custom suit with gold wheels on his boutonniere, waited for his bride. The reception turned into the biggest skate party Dallas had seen in years. Old school met new school as skaters from different generations shared the floor. Even some of their DC skating friends made the trip, bringing that East Coast flavor to the Texas celebration. Taking over Southside brought its own challenges. Their first month as owners, the ancient sound system finally gave out during a packed Saturday night session. Will and Love handled it the only way they knew how, by leading an impromptu old-school skate session, with nothing but hand claps and vocal harmonies until Twin could get his backup equipment set up. "That's how they used to do it back in the day anyway," Mr. Mason commented from his usual spot, now as a regular patron rather than an employee. They brought their DC experiences home, introducing new skating styles while preserving the classic Dallas flavor. The Capital Roll, a smooth move Love had perfected in Maryland, got a Texas twist when mixed with Will's breakdancing influence. They called it the District South Slide, and it became their signature teaching move. But their real pride was the next generation, like 14-year-old Marcus Jr., Maya, and Marcus's son, who had his father's swagger, but his mother's grace on wheels. Or little Carmen Washington, Will's niece, who could already breakdance better than her uncle could at twice her age. They started a program called Legacy Wheels, combining Jerome's Skate Academy with Maya's Rolling Dreams initiative. Kids could earn their own pair of skates through a combination of good grades, community service, and dedication to learning both new and old school skating styles. "It's not just about skating," Love would tell parents at registration. "It's about building confidence, community, and character," Will would add with a grin, "and sometimes falling down a lot before you figure it all out." The rink became a place where stories intertwined. There was shy Tommy Chen, who discovered his confidence through breakdancing, eventually teaching Will some new moves, and Deandra Jackson, who rolled in one day barely able to stand on skates, now competing nationally with a style that mixed classical dance with old-school roll bouncing. Each Friday night, they'd host Future Legends sessions, where the next generation could showcase their skills. The walls, once covered in just old photos, now featured a growing collection of new memories alongside the classics. Pictures of Will's first stumbling attempts now hung next to shots of their wedding, their DC performances, and the proud faces of their young protégés. Twin still DJ'd special events, his mixes now incorporating suggestions from the young skaters while keeping that classic Southside soul. Jerome's shop became a mandatory stop for serious skaters across the South, with his custom designs worn by champions and beginners alike. On quiet Sunday afternoons, after the weekend rush, Will and Luv would sometimes skate alone together, moving to the echoes of Up To You, just like in those early days. But now their movements were sure, synchronized, a testament to years of growth, love, and dedication. Remember when you couldn't even stand up straight? Luv would tease. Look at us now, Will would respond, pulling her into a spin. Still falling, just falling together now. And on the walls around them, among the photos and memories, a new sign glowed in neon: Southside Skating Palace, where legends roll and love grows. Because that's what their story had become. Not just a tale of two people falling in love, but of a community rolling forward together. One generation lifting up the next, all of them moving to that same sweet rhythm that had brought a breakdancer and a skater together all those years ago. The Southside style they developed became famous across the skating world. Their signature moves blended the smooth glide of traditional roller skating with the explosive energy of breakdancing. The Texas two-step roll started with a classic skating stride that transitioned into a modified top rock. The Dallas dip combined a low skating stance with freeze positions that seemed to defy physics. Every Tuesday and Thursday, their advanced class worked on these techniques. Deandra Jackson mastered the Houston hover, a move where the skater appeared to float while spinning, their wheels barely touching the ground. Tommy Chen's dragon slide added martial arts influences to traditional skating moves, creating something entirely new. Remember, Will would tell his students, demonstrating the basics of break skating, the term for the hybrid style. It's not about being perfect, it's about finding your own rhythm. Luv would add, and sometimes the best moves come from mistakes. Just look at how Will invented the stumble spin during our first date. Their mentorship program produced champions, but more importantly, it produced leaders, like Jasmine Torres, who started in their beginner's class at 12, barely able to stand on skates. By 16, she was teaching the junior classes, developing her own style she called Tejano Groove, mixing traditional Mexican dance moves with roller skating. Marcus Jr. and Carmen formed a junior skating crew called Next Gen Groove, incorporating elements from both Will's breaking and Luv's smooth style. They began competing in regional competitions, bringing home trophies that lined the rink's walls alongside the old photos. The community continued to grow in unexpected ways. When a group of tech companies started moving to Dallas, bringing families from across the country, Southside became their introduction to Texas culture. Will and Luv started cultural roll call nights, where skaters would showcase moves from their heritage, Korean pop-inspired routines, mixing with Houston hip-hop styles and traditional African dance movements. Their plans for Southside's future were ambitious, but rooted in their history. They opened a small museum corner showcasing the evolution of skating culture in Dallas, from the early days of the cotton gin parties to the modern break skating movement. Display cases held everything from vintage skates to Twin's first mixing board. The Future Legends initiative became their flagship program, expanding beyond skating to include business classes taught by Will, dance instruction from Luv, and music production workshops led by Twin. They partnered with local schools, creating after-school programs that combined physical education with cultural education. We're not just teaching kids to skate, Luv would explain at community meetings. We're teaching them their history, their potential, their worth. Will would demonstrate by showing videos of their students' progress, not just in skating, but in confidence, academics, and leadership. Jerome's shop evolved into a skating innovation hub, where he worked with the kids to design new types of wheels and boots that could handle the demands of break skating. Marcus Jr. proved particularly gifted at design, helping create the legacy line of skates specifically engineered for their hybrid style. Special events became community celebrations. The annual Southside Showcase grew from a simple recital to a 3-day festival, drawing skaters and spectators from across the country. Food trucks lined the parking lot, local artists painted skating-inspired murals, and multiple generations of Dallas skating culture came together to share their stories and moves. Their oldest students started having kids of their own, bringing them to the rink for their first rolls. 3 generations would sometimes share the floor during family sessions. Grandparents who remembered the rink's early days, parents who grew up watching Will and Love's story unfold, and children just discovering their own love for 8 wheels and endless possibilities. One evening, watching a young couple help each other up after a fall, just as they had done so many years ago, Will squeezed Love's hand. You ever think about how many love stories started right here on these floors? Makes sense, Luv replied with a smile. Love's like skating. You gotta trust yourself, trust your partner, and not be afraid to roll with whatever comes next. The legacy of Luv on Wheels continued to roll, not just in the stories people told, but in the lives they touched, the traditions they preserved, and the future they helped shape. Their influence spread beyond Dallas, with their break skating style inspiring rinks across the country. Their teaching methods became known as the Southside System, a unique approach that combined technical skating skills with cultural education. Every lesson started with the history, from South Dallas street dances to Oak Cliff block parties, from Pleasant Grove roll bounces to Deep Ellum breaking battles. Students learned about pioneers like Mr. Mason and the countless unnamed innovators who created Dallas's unique skating culture. And this ain't just about moving your feet, Will would say during orientation. It's about knowing where these moves came from, who created them, and why. Love would add, when you skate our style, you're carrying the dreams of generations. Their students carried that legacy forward in unexpected ways. Maria Hernandez combined quebradita dance moves with break skating, creating a style she called roller quebrada that took the Southwest skating scene by storm. The Johnson twins, Malik and Malcolm, added elements of stepping to their routines, their precision movements making waves on social media. The national skating community took notice. Rinks from Atlanta to Los Angeles started sending their instructors to learn the Southside system. Will and Love found themselves traveling occasionally to teach workshops, always making sure one of them stayed behind to keep Southside running, usually with Maya and Marcus overseeing things. But their hearts remained in Dallas, where the real magic happened daily, like when shy Kevin Williams, after 6 months of barely speaking, finally found his voice through skating and became one of their most passionate junior instructors. Or when Sarah Chen, Tommy's little sister, choreographed a routine that told her immigrant parents' love story through a blend of traditional Chinese dance and roller skating. The rink became a cultural hub where Dallas's past and future converged. During the annual Dallas Skate Heritage Week, old-timers would share stories of skating to soul music in warehouses, while kids demonstrated how they'd remixed those classic moves with contemporary styles. As their 20th anniversary of owning Southside approached, Will and Love sat in their office late one night, surrounded by photos, trophies, and the happy chaos of running a beloved community institution. They were reviewing plans for their biggest project yet, expanding Southside to include a skating museum, a larger training facility, and a youth center. Remember when you couldn't even roll forward? Luv teased, pointing at an old photo. Now look at us, Will replied, pulling out the latest architectural plans. Still rolling forward, just with a lot more people along for the ride. Outside their office, the sounds of skating, laughter, and music filled the air as another generation found their feet, their rhythm, their community. Marcus Jr. was teaching his signature move to a group of beginners, while Carmen helped a nervous newcomer find their balance. Twin son was learning the basics of DJing at his father's old booth, mixing classic soul with modern beats. The legacy of Luv On Wheels was still being written, rolling forward into new chapters with each passing day. Their story had become part of Dallas's heartbeat, a rhythm that moved through the city's veins, inspiring new dreams, new love stories, new possibilities. And somewhere out there, maybe tonight, maybe tomorrow, Another young soul would lace up their skates for the first time, roll onto that smooth wooden floor, and begin their own journey, because that's what Southside was all about. Endless possibilities, moving forward, always forward, 8 wheels at a time. The story wasn't over. In many ways, it was still just beginning.